This is Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review with your CFL Week 17 preview. Let's get right to it. We have two games on Friday night this week in the Canadian Football League. The first one, the Ottawa Red Blacks and the Hamilton Tiger Cats in a pivotal East Division clash. First place on the line. The Red Blacks and the Ticats, 1 point separating them in the standings coming into this game. And the Ottawa Red Blacks are going to be looking to turn around what's become a slide for them in the wrong direction at the wrong time. We're in the last month now of the CFL regular season, and the Ottawa Red Blacks just not playing their best football right now. 3-7 straight up their last 10 games. Not really getting the job done defensively. We've seen them gashed on that side of the football. Red Blacks have given up 32, 40, 48 points in 3 of their last 4 games. Only the, rather inept Toronto Argonauts offense able to be shut down by this Ottawa defense. So they've really been struggling to get stops on that side of the ball. And now you've got issues with this Ottawa team on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, you've got Trevor Harris struggling in the passing game. He was benched in last week's overtime loss against Saskatchewan. Henry Burris takes over, the old 40-year-old veteran quarterback back at the helm. Leads Ottawa to a comeback to tie the game, but they still can't quite get it done and finish the comeback as they fall in overtime to the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Henry Burris has been named the starting quarterback here for this game against the Hamilton Ticats by head coach Rick Campbell. A little bit concerned for him in this game because Ottawa's without their best offensive lineman, the guy that was looked at as the best offensive lineman in the CFL last year. In fact, he won the award for most outstanding O-lineman. I'm talking about Sir Vincent Rogers, their left tackle. And ever since he went down with that season-ending injury, this Red Blacks offense has really struggled to open up holes for the ground game. They've struggled to protect their quarterbacks. And for Henry Burris, who's lost a little bit of his mobility in latter years, it could be a little bit of a problem for him trying to make plays in the pocket down the field with an offensive line that's been a little bit shaky since that Rogers injury. So maybe it's something Hamilton can take care of. I know Hamilton's struggling. They went into the bye week with 2 straight losses against Saskatchewan and Calgary, but they are off a bye week. They're rested. They've had lots of practice time. They'll also be without their number one quarterback, Zach Collaros. Jeremiah Masoli will get the start in this game. And it's not like the Ticats can't win with Masoli. They've gone 3-3 with Masoli as a starting quarterback this season. They're certainly capable of playing well and winning games with him at the helm. They still have some issues at receiver in terms of injuries, but I do like the trade they made earlier this week with Saskatchewan in getting an offensive tackle and Xavier Fulton who can get the job done from the Saskatchewan Roughriders and really reinforce this offensive line for Hamilton, which has really struggled as well to protect their quarterback in recent games. So I think it was a good move all around. I think the spot is good enough for Hamilton where I'd be interested in laying less than a field goal with them in this game against Ottawa. Just too many struggles right now for the Red Blacks to trust them on the road to get a victory in a critical game against a team that is probably in a spot where they should bring their A game off 2 losses and off their bye week and highly motivated in this battle for first place. Not that Ottawa isn't. Ottawa's motivated too. It's a battle for first. Both teams. It's not going to be lack of motivation that does Ottawa in, but I think it's going to be a situation where I do have concerns with the struggles on D, the offensive line protection issues that they could show up here. Winnipeg and BC, the second game on Friday. The BC Lions and Winnipeg Blue Bombers played last week in Winnipeg. What a wild football game. BC losing 37-35. They had 2 chances really to win the game. They were driving for the game-winning touchdown. They went for it on 3rd and 1 from inside the Winnipeg 5-yard line in the last minute. They get stuffed, turn the ball over on downs. It looks like it's game over, but hold on now. Andrew Harris, running back for the Blue Bombers, fumbles inside his own 10-yard line. It looks like the ball's out before the knee was down. BC recovers. Problem is, the referees say the whistle had blown already and play was stopped. Either way, the Lions got robbed as far as I'm concerned. They should have had at least another chance to win that game with another touchdown drive and should have got the ball inside the 10 with about 30 seconds to go. But Winnipeg hangs on thanks to a fortuitous call. Not necessarily that BC deserved to win the game. They fell behind big early. Turnovers Bad special teams, a kick return touchdown Winnipeg had. They had short fields to work with on offense, really allowing the Blue Bombers to get out to a big early lead. But BC dominated the second half, allowed them to come back, and now they're in revenge mode, facing Winnipeg for the second straight week, this time at home at BC Place Stadium. And the BC Lions still in a spot where it's tough to bet against them when they're off a loss. I mean, when they're off a defeat this season, they've yet to lose 2 games in a row. They're 4-0 straight up, 4-0 against the spread off a loss this season. That's the role they're in here in this game. Problem is their defense is really struggling. It's not getting stops like it did early in the season. The secondary injuries to the likes of Ronnie Yell, Stephen Clark, TJ Lee, they seem to be really doing some damage to this Lions pass defense, which has been picked on a little bit in recent games, including by Matt Nichols last week for the Winnipeg offense. The Nichols, the Winnipeg quarterback, made some plays against this BC defense, but at the same time, Bombers defense has really struggled in their last 3 games. They got away with it, giving up 35 points and over 500 yards of offense to BC last week because they won. But they've averaged almost 500 yards per game allowed in their last 3 games against BC, Edmonton, and Calgary. That's just not good enough on the defensive side of the football. I think it's going to be another high-scoring game. It's a big reason why this is the largest total in the CFL on the CFL Week 17 slate. This total of 55.5. I think it still could get up and over that number. From a side perspective, you're not paying a bargain rate here to back BC, but I don't know if I could go against them off a loss. They've been so good in bounce back mode off a defeat this season. Probably the only way I could bet it is BC laying the 5.5 in this game. Saturday's games: Saskatchewan, Toronto to begin the CFL doubleheader on Saturday, October 15. How about the Saskatchewan Roughriders playing their best football, even though as of Monday when Edmonton beat Montreal, they are officially out of the playoff contention with with Edmonton's win against Montreal on Monday, which knocked Saskatchewan out. So there is a concern what Saskatchewan team is going to show up. This is now going to be their first game that they've played since they've been officially knocked out of the playoff race. So do the Rough Riders still bring you that same intensity, that same will to win that they've clearly showed in the last several weeks? I mean, when you look at the Saskatchewan team, they're just 3-3 straight up their last 6 games, but they're 6-0 against the spread in their last 6 games, including 3 straight victories against Edmonton, Hamilton, and Ottawa. And now they're on the road here against just an absolutely falling apart Toronto Argonauts team, playing just horrendous football on both sides of the ball. We'll see what kind of effort we get from Saskatchewan, but I'm telling you, I want no part of the Argos here, not even maybe. Toronto is a complete mess. They cut 3 receivers because they had issues with them, buying into the team concept. And we saw last week these young receivers that are replacing Hazelton, Gurley, and Elliott. They're going to need some time to get some chemistry in this passing game with Argos quarterback Drew Willie, who still has only been there for barely a month. This will only be his 3rd start as the Toronto starting quarterback. So there's a lot of issues here for the Argos. I am a little bit concerned about Saskatchewan's mental state. I mean, they're playing great. They're feeling good. They're playing much better football. Do they still bring that will for this game? They were practicing at Parliament Hill. They stayed in the Eastern time zone, actually, following the game in Ottawa last week. I actually think that's a good thing. They don't have to travel back to Saskatchewan and then fly back east to Toronto for this game. They stayed in the eastern part of the country. That should benefit them here. From what I've read, though, Darian Durant quotes, Chris Jones quotes, a couple of the other players in the Saskatchewan camp, they still want to play hard. They want to finish this season the right way. They still want to win football games down the stretch. Those quotes meant something to me when I read them. It clearly looks like this team, even though they've been knocked out from the playoffs officially now, they still look like they don't want to pack it in and mail it in on their season. And for that reason, I'm coming back to this game for play of the week here in the CFL. And we'll wrap up my Saturday or Week 17 slate with the second game on Saturday, Montreal against Calgary. You can't make a number high enough. You've got the absolutely awful Alouettes catching 15 points as road underdogs in this game against the absolutely dominant Calgary Stampeders. What can you say what can I say that hasn't been said already about Calgary this season? They're just playing absolutely spectacular, unbeatable football right now. 13-1-1 straight up, 12-3 against the spread, and it seems like no big spread is too high for them right now. I mean, you look at some of these numbers that they've covered. 9.5-point favorite on the road last week or Monday against Toronto. They ended up cruising to victory, outgaining the Argos by 238 yards, a 48-20 win. Just domination from the beginning. Bo Levi Mitchell has just been flawless in the passing game. Markway McDaniel's making big plays. Kamar Jordan is making big plays. Tavares Daniels has come on the scene and been a big-time weapon at receiver. They've got tons of weapons. Jerome Messam, physical, strong, tough running back, wears out defenses late in the game in the second half with his physical, bruising style of running. It's just a complete football team. And the defense can give up some plays and points at times, but they're still more than above average and still one of the better defenses in the CFL. This is a complete team. The question now for Calgary is, do they have that drive and intensity and focus to finish the season strong? They have clinched everything there is to clinch. They've clinched first place in the West, home field advantage throughout the Western Division playoffs. But from all indications, particularly from their quarterback, Bo Mitchell, this team wants to finish the season at an unprecedented record of 16-1-1. They want that record. They want that, one of the greatest seasons in CFL history distinction, because 16-1-1 would give them that. They'd have to win each of their last 3 games to accomplish that, but don't put it past them to want to do that. It's really a question here of how long does Dave Dickenson, the head coach, go with Bo Levi Mitchell and the Stars? Does he give them any sort of rest and maybe not play them for an entire game down the stretch? Does he maybe only play Mitchell and the starters for a half? 3 quarters, who knows? That's something you're going to want to investigate if you're going to be betting Calgary games down the stretch. Just how long does Dickenson run with his horses, no pun intended, here with this Calgary Stampeders team? How long does he go with them in games? But from all indications, the players want the coach to keep them in games to get this 16-1-1 record. And if that's their mindset, this could be bad news here for Montreal. It's just got absolutely thumped at home by Edmonton in their last game, 40-20. They've still not yet to win 2 games in a row this season. And against Calgary, we'll see what they can do here. But obviously they're going to be in tough. What I do like, though, from Montreal, since the coaching change, Jim Popp stepping down, Jacques Chapdelaine taking over as the head coach, they've opened up the playbook a little bit. They're allowing Rakeem Cato to throw the ball a bit more down the field. And he did play well at times last week. He still makes the odd interception, bad decision, but they are opening things up and trying to take some shots down the field offensively with Jacques Chapdelaine now the head coach. So that's a positive sign. And for that reason, we may see points in this game. You look at Calgary as a defensive team over the years. Well, not necessarily lately. I mean, this Calgary team is, in their last 10 games, they have scored 30 or more points in 9 of their last 10 games. Actually, in 10 of their last 11 games, Calgary has scored at least 30 points. I mean, they have just been an offensive machine, and so it's hard to bet Calgary games under the total, and I feel the same way here. I mean, you don't associate Montreal with high-scoring football, but their game against Edmonton did go over the total last week, and at 52, wouldn't surprise me to see another over involving Calgary on Saturday. All right, that will wrap up my look at the games. We're going to wrap up the video now with my CFL Play of the Week, and boy, these have been phenomenal this season. We've had 16 Plays of the Week in the CFL. How about an 11-5 record, 69%, 11-5, tremendous run with the CFL Play of the Week. Let's see if we can add another winner to the tote board here in Week 17 action. We're going to go to Saturday, that Saskatchewan-Toronto game. I know this game means a hell of a lot more, at least it should on paper, to Toronto, who are trying to hang on desperately to a playoff spot, but they're not playing good football at all. Saskatchewan sounds like they want to keep playing hard, trying to win, even though they've been knocked out of the playoffs. So that's good enough for me. Let's take Saskatchewan +1. That's rotation number 283. Saskatchewan +1 against Toronto. That is your CFL Week 17 Play of the Week. All right, that's my look at Week 17 in the Canadian Football League. I'm Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SPR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.